Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
This is from 1981 to 1983.
You remember this one, don't you?
I never watched it. It's one of these shows. I don't know how I missed it as a kid. This probably would have been right up my alley. I guess I just wasn't aware it was on. You didn't have the internet back then, and I guess my older siblings were too old to be watching these cartoons, and then I guess the kids weren't watching because they would have told me about it on the playground, so I never watched it. I think I was watching stuff like Scooby-Doo in 80, around this time, and Looney Tunes.
That really sucks, nostalgic podcast. Bill Bixby died on my birthday in 93.
That sucks.
Yeah, that's the year after Netter and I got married. That really does suck. So this was a Saturday morning cartoon. This was, I don't remember, there was also a Spider-Man standalone cartoon, and I don't remember if it was before this or after this, but it was done by the same production company. And one, at the end of a season, led into the other, and I don't remember which was which. But who's a huge fan of this is Michael from Retro Blasting. He's got a bunch of videos about action figures related to these characters. You should definitely go check those out if you have any interest in this. This is an interesting one because it introduces two characters from the comics, both X-Men, either X-Men or X-Men adjacent characters.
There's Iceman. He's from the original X-Men.
He's definitely from the X-Men. Yeah. And Jessica Jones.
Is it Firestar? Is that her name?
Jessica something. Jessica Jones was the superpowered one. Jessica Drew, I think, was the alter ego of Firestar. And she starts out, in the comics anyway, she started out as a villain. I think she was a mutant. And then she ends up becoming a hero later on. But they don't go into that kind of detail in this cartoon.
No.
They just took two random characters from the Marvel Universe. Angelica Jones. That's what it was. I'm sorry. I'm confusing characters. I'm glad you're here, Tim, because that really does help.
So I guess her antecedent in the DC universe would be Volcana.
Jessica Drew was Spider-Woman. Yes, that was a different cartoon, which I did watch, but didn't make the cut for tonight. Yes. Thank you, guys. See, that's why you guys are so Osmo.
We're not doing everything. We were just picking what we thought each of our top 10 things that we remembered about Marvel before the MCU.
So the idea was that these three characters are college-age students. I think they're going to college together. Interesting suggestion at a romantic relationship between Angelica and Peter and Angelica and Bobby, which now in retrospect, Bobby could have had a thing for Peter, but whatever. But that was not a part of the cartoon. I'm just saying. But they never went real hard on any of that. It was just, kind of implied. And, one guy never wanted to step on the other guy's toes. So neither of them really pursued Firestar. But they were friends in college, and they all happened to be superheroes. So they were like, hey, let's team up as our own little team. I always imagined in my head, this wasn't mentioned in the cartoon, but I was like, from Spider-Man's point of view, they won't let me into the Avengers, so let's start our own little superhero team,
Yeah, why not?
Exactly, right? So, but what was really, was there a Captain America guest appearance? I don't even remember.
There were guest appearances on the show, yeah. I thought you might find that one interesting.
This is a real fuzzy memory for me, but yeah. And the thing was, do you have any pictures of their apartment? Because
not here, no. Unfortunately, no. But I know there was the big computer.
Yeah, this is a story plot, and you see it at the beginning of every episode. They have an apartment together. That when someone took a book off a shelf or whatever, things would swivel and turn around, and they had a supercomputer and a lab and all this stuff. And although it's not said in the span of the film, I always imagine that was funded by Tony Stark. It's the only way it makes sense, because none of these three college students were rich, right? They couldn't afford that kind of stuff. I just thought it was really kind of cool.
Well, Well, it's cool
that
when
was
you're
at
a
least
kid and
my
you see these secret fancy
right.
computer compartments in the apartment.
And
Right?
and in my head canon, like I said, it was paid for by Tony Stark, who was kind of patronizing the kids, like the next generation of Avengers, so to speak.
But there were other cameos. We have some of the X-Men here. Look at that.
Jeez,
Got
and
Storm,
see, I did not,
Colossus,
since I did not read the the comics. I didn't know the X-Men really. Certainly didn't know Iceman outside of this cartoon. So have you seen the retro blasting video on Spider-Man and his amazing friend? Yes, I've watched all of them.
Huh.
Yeah, I did kind of reference that. Yeah. Gorilla's random thoughts, Kapla. Swinging in to say hi, but had very exhausting week and gonna pass out early. That's fine. You can always watch us on the rerun.
But this title card I found fascinating. The Bride of Dracula. Is this from
So
Spider-Man?
that's yes, and
Mary
that
Jane,
is
right?
no, it is not.
Oh,
that is Angelica Jones
okay.
out of her Firestar costume.
Okay.
Yeah, Mary Jane, I don't think made an appearance in this cartoon.
She looks kind of like Mary Jane. I'm surprised Peter.
Very much so.
I'm surprised Peter didn't try picking her up.
Yes.
Anyway, look at
probably
that.
Why he had the hots for her. So
Count
so
Dracula,
when he moved on to MJ,
that.
it was yeah.
Count Dracula. And there was a Dracula Marvel comic at the time too. Is that where this was taken from?
Yes, there was. That art style, yes, is very much on point for the Dracula that appeared in the Marvel comics. Yes.
Ooh, when Spider-Man met X-Men in the comics, he stole a kiss from Jean Grey. Ooh, that must have gotten Scott Summers angry.
Oh, jeez, poor. He's the biggest cock in comics.
Oh, leave Cyclops alone. Don't say that. No, Cyclops. He did pretty well. Even when I guess Jean Grey was out of the picture, he ended up with the White Queen. Was that Emma Frost? Yeah, that was.
Emma Frost had a hot outfit. Let me tell you.
Yeah,
drew. That's how I learned to draw hot chicks. Was drawing pictures of the way. Yeah.
I have to say though, it's kind of neat though. You have this. They're like these young 20-somethings, battling. Yeah. And what I always thought was interesting, not in this show, but I remember in the early Spider-Man comics, the Human Torch, I think, was one of the few other superheroes that befriended Spider-Man. A lot of them wanted nothing to do with him. Isn't that right? In those early Spider-Man comics?
That's true.
They didn't think he was legitimate.
There was a couple reasons for it. A lot. There were some that believed the stories from the newspapers. There were some that recognized he's a kid, right? He's got a lot of growing up to do. He's not really ready. But that is also why Johnny Storm gravitated towards him so much, because they had a lot in common. They were the same peer group. They both got kind of looked down on because of that. So yeah, Johnny Storm, you get the impression. In fact, it's interesting. They had wanted, when this cartoon originally was submitted to the network, they had wanted it to be Iceman, Spider-Man, and the Human Torch. The Human Torch was not available for licensing reasons because he was tied to Fantastic Four.
And that was sold to somebody else.
Yep. That's why they pulled in Firestar. She was basically the same power set. Because they wanted to offset the Iceman story.
I want to say that, though. That's thinking outside the box. I like when comic book companies did this. I remember when they were doing one of the Justice League comics, how they wanted, exactly remember what they were saying? They said, we need to create this character called Elongated Man because we need a stretchy character like Plastic Man. They create Elongated Man. And then someone walked up to them after they created him. We have the rights to Plastic Man, right? That was part of that deal. Like, no!
Same thing happened with a lot of the Batman cartoons where they couldn't use certain villains, so they'd have to swap in other villains. And everyone knew what they were actually doing. We actually went through this, although it's not in this list
This
tonight.
has happened all the time with DC. DC. And DC, this is what kills me. Warner's owns everything. But like they'll come up with reasons why things can't be used. Like when they did Justice League Unlimited, you couldn't have the Joker on there because we're doing this other Batman cartoon. We don't really want you taking villains from this other Batman cartoon. So no Batman villains on Justice League Unlimited. It's
the 90s Spider-Man cartoon where they couldn't use certain villains, so they swapped in other villains, and we all knew which character they wanted to use, but it still worked really well. Yeah, they've done a great job with that. It's just very, very frustrating.
But that brings us to the end of the first 5. But anything left to say about this? This is like a cool little cartoon. This is one of these things where I wish it was on streaming somewhere, but I probably know where it is streaming if it is streaming anywhere, and I don't have
the rights for it are owned by Disney now.
So they're not gonna.
I doubt.
You throw it on a Hulu at least, or your free thing like Tubi, please. I don't want to buy Disney Plus. I want nothing to do with Disney Plus. Disney Plus. It's not even. It's. Let's be honest. It's not that I'm boycotting Disney. It's just, I find a lot of their product now to be cringe, and I want nothing to do with it. That's what the issue is now.